Inflation fears caused another week of sharp swings in the market. Can the Fed slow the economy without causing a recession? And what can the Biden administration do to help? Joining me now, former White House Council of Economic Advisors Chairman Jason Furman, who is now Aetna Professor of the Practice of Economic Policy at Harvard University. Jason, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So the Federal Reserve does not have a great track record of hiking rates without causing a recession, and investors are starting to fear that we may be headed that way. What's your take?
Look, I think there's a lot to be nervous about in the economy right now, whether we're talking about global domestic events, or incredibly high inflation. I'm not that optimistic about how the Fed can land the plane softly, but over the next year, the economy still has a lot of strengths. So my near-term recession worries just aren't that much higher than usual.
Interesting. How high do you think Powell will have to raise rates in order to tamp down inflation?
Look, my view is growth is going to be a bit stronger than is the consensus right now. As a result, inflation will be a little bit higher than is the consensus right now. As a result, I think he's going to need to raise the Fed funds rate to 4 and even higher by the end of next year.
Wow, that will be a shock to the market. If so, it'll be interesting to see, although I guess good growth would be a good sign. That's the Fed, which is sort of the main battleground in this front against inflation. What can the White House actually do? What would you tell President Biden to do to try to tamp down inflation?
Right. President Biden's not in a great place because everyone's mad at him about inflation, but he doesn't have a lot of tools to bring that inflation down. Done some of the right things in terms of improving supply chains and shipping, trucking, and the like. The release from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve was a good idea, too. I think one of the biggest unturned stones that he has is to lift the Trump-China tariffs.
Interesting. The reason for putting those in place, of course, was to protect U.S. manufacturers, steelmakers, et cetera. If he were to do that, would it hurt the domestic economy?
Look, we're at a time of record job openings. We're at a time when, like any single good you can possibly make, there's someone out there to buy. I can't think of a better time on the employment side to lift those tariffs or a more necessary time for consumers.
Another step you've advocated that I haven't heard that much, it's interesting, it would be to end the pause in student loan payments. Can you explain why that would help?
Yeah, the pause in student loan payment is injecting more money into the economy. It's enabling, people to spend more money, but we can't make more stuff. And when people spend more money and you don't make more stuff, the result is prices go up. It could easily be adding 1/4 to 1/2 point to the inflation rate. The unemployment rate for college-educated workers is, less than 3%. Should go back to paying that interest.
Well, it's hard to argue with that. Let me ask you about this Democrat point that corporate greed is pushing inflation higher. The results from Target and Walmart would suggest that's not true. Well, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's not true. Look, corporations are trying to maximize their profits. Sometimes that means they can charge more. Sometimes that means they can't charge more. They don't get to choose when charging more is the profit maximizing step for them. Corporations are also paying more in wages. They're paying more for their inputs. And so in some ways, the greed hypothesis just seems to be strikingly refuted by what's happening right now in the stock market.
Okay, I'll toss you another political hot potato. Who is to blame for higher gas prices? Is it Biden? Is it Putin? Is it oil companies that simply have capital discipline they didn't have before?
Look, a lot of the inflation we have is homegrown, but added on top of that homegrown inflation is high oil prices due to President Putin's invasion of Ukraine. That's raised oil prices globally. There's relatively little that President Biden can do about that. He released from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. That was a good idea. But the gasoline price, that is largely President Putin's price.
One more question for you. I want to pivot to this trip that Janet Yellen took to Poland, trying to get that country on board with a 15% minimum tax. As an economist, what's your view of that idea?
I'm very supportive of the minimum tax. It's something that the whole world agreed to. It will put our companies on a more competitive footing because everyone's doing it. It'll help stop a race to the bottom and enable us to collect taxes. I think it's a very efficient way to raise taxes in a way that won't hurt our companies.
Jason Furman, thank you for your insights. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.